Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Assembly Committee on Commerce and Labor. Secretary, will you please take roll?
Assemblywoman Backus. Assemblyman Carter.
Present.
Assemblywoman Duran.
Here.
Assemblywoman Hardy. Assemblywoman Howdigy. Assemblywoman Kasama.
Here.
Assemblywoman Monroe Moreno.
Here.
Assemblyman O'Neill.
Here.
Assemblywoman Torres.
Here.
Assemblyman Yeager. Assemblyman Urick. Chair Marzola.
And I am here. Please mark members present as they walk in, and please mark Mr. Speaker absent excused. Happy Friday. Welcome, everyone that is here in Carson City, everyone in Las Vegas, and everyone listening over the internet. Today we will hear three bills: Assembly Bill 284, Assembly Bill 301, and Assembly Bill 334. Before we get started, I'd like to go over some housekeeping rules. Please turn off all your electronic devices, especially your cell phones. If you wish to testify, please sign in at the table by the door. If you have handouts for the committee, please provide 20 copies to the committee secretary prior to your testimony. For those testifying online, please be sure to mute your microphone when you are not speaking to minimize any background noise. When testifying, please turn on the microphone and clearly state and spell your name for the record. I expect respect and courtesy in this committee, even though we may disagree. With that, we will begin with our first agenda, Assembly Bill 284. Assembly Bill 284 authorizes the business of a mortgage company to be conducted from a remote location under certain circumstances. Assemblywoman Kasama, you may begin when you're ready.
Thank you, Madam Chair and committee members. It is my pleasure to present Assembly Bill 284 to all of you. I represent Assembly District 2 in the Greater Summerlin area in Las Vegas, and so proud to be presenting this first bill. I was approached to carry Assembly Bill 284 to help modernize the mortgage lending industry. This bill allows for remote work for mortgage loan originators. As the country and mortgage lending industry have emerged from the height of the pandemic, 34 states have now permanently authorized remote work for loan originators. Mortgage lending companies now have the resources, policies, and procedures to interact with customers and manage regulatory compliance from anywhere. This is also something that Nevada has experienced with. From March of 2020 to the end of June 2021, Nevada mortgage loan originators were allowed to work from home. This bill will simply permit that practice in statute, and it includes parameters to ensure that Nevadans and their information are safe and secure while providing them with a more flexible and convenient process. I will now hand this over to Chelsea Kapura from the Griffin Company and Anna Boone from Zillow to provide some additional context and help answer any questions the committee may have about this bill.
Good afternoon, Chair Marzola and members of the committee. For the record, Chelsea Capurro here today on behalf of Zillow. We want to first thank Assemblywoman Kasama for sponsoring this bill and the committee for taking the time to hear this important issue today. As we all know, COVID has changed the world we operate in, and some of those changes have truly helped modernize our day-to-day life. This bill is a perfect example of that. I will now pass this over to Anna Boone, who, coincidentally enough, is here to present remotely. So Anna will help walk through the bill, answer any questions you all may have. So Anna, can you hear us?
I'm here, yes. Thank you. Good afternoon, Madam Chair and members of the committee. My name is Anna Boone. I'm the Senior Manager of Government Relations for Zillow Group, covering the Western United States. Thank you for your time today and for accommodating me here on Zoom. The bill before you, AB 284, would enable a more seamless real estate experience for Nevadans by authorizing mortgage loan originators to work remotely. As Assemblywoman Kasama mentioned in her opening remarks, we now have 34 states that have permanently authorized remote work for loan originators. We call this RMLO, Remote Mortgage Loan Origination, which allows mortgage loan originators to be more responsive and available to Nevada home shoppers by utilizing the location flexibility that technology now enables. Currently, mortgage loan originators are required to conduct business from a licensed branch location. This limits their ability to respond to home buyers outside of core business hours or when they are away from the office. Technology and consumer expectations have evolved over the last several years, accelerated by the COVID-19 pandemic. During the pandemic and associated stay-at-home orders, the mortgage lending industry, in partnership with regulators, adapted its operations to facilitate remote work in order to deliver critical financial services to consumers. This shift demonstrated that the mortgage industry can operate safely, efficiently, and effectively in a digital environment. It also helped consumers more easily transact during a period of historically low interest rates and sky-high housing demand. Permanent remote work for mortgage loan originators modernizes the mortgage lending industry to benefit consumers, employees, and employers. Consumers experience a more convenient process as loan originators are able to respond to inquiries and provide updates outside of business hours without having to commute into an office to do so. Employees are able to access flexibility, the same flexibility many other industries already provide, and mortgage lenders are more easily able to recruit and retain talented MLOs. By making RMLO permanent, Nevada will enable a more seamless, convenient real estate transaction for its residents. I'll mention, in addition to authorizing remote work, this bill includes protections such as prohibiting an employee from interacting with a customer in person at the residence of that employee. It also prohibits the maintenance of physical records at a remote location. And finally, Section 1 of this bill gives full authority to the Commissioner of the Mortgage Lending Division to adopt further regulations governing the business of a mortgage company at a remote location. Thank you so much for your consideration. We urge your support, and I am available to answer any questions.
Thank you, and thank you for your presentation. Committee members, any questions? I have a couple, but we will start with committee members. Assemblywoman Backus.
Thank you so much, and thank you for the presentation. And I just kind of keep thinking this is where we're going after COVID, that a lot of businesses are working remote. One thing I thought, and this is kind of general, you may not have the answer, but all I keep thinking are like zoning issues with like, now are we encroaching upon like a situation where we're doing home businesses, although we were all doing it during COVID. And it was just something I just keep pondering. And when I read the bill, of course, that's what I thought of again. Thanks.
For the record,
Thank you
Chelsea
for your
Capurro.
question.
Unless Anna, you wanna respond. I was just gonna say, I'm not quite sure how this would impact zoning. I think that's something that we'd have to look at more closely at a local level. But I'm not prepared to answer that unless Anna, you've got an answer. It's something we might have to dig into deeper and get an answer for you.
I agree with that. I was just going to highlight something I failed to mention in my remarks,
And I hate
that
to
there
cut-
is still a license.
I hate to cut you off.
Oh.
Can I have you state your name, please?
Yes, apologies, Anna Boone, Zillow. I was just going to mention something I failed to mention in my testimony, but nothing in this bill does away with the current requirements that there be a licensed branch location in the state. But yes, we're happy to follow up with more information on any zoning triggers.
Vice Chair Howdigi.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And it's not so much a question, it's just more of a statement. So thank you for allowing me to make it. But I was actually really happy to see this bill in Commerce and Labor. I know that when I had spoken to the NMLA during the interim, this was something that had been important to them, and I felt I just didn't have the capacity to carry it anymore. And so I was really happy to see that you brought it forward, Assemblywoman, because I think it's something, one of the benefits that did come out of COVID, right, is everyone got to, well, there was policies implemented that I think we can take advantage of now and make them long-term policies that will benefit industries and just make, businesses run more efficient. And this is one of the ones I saw as an efficient benefit. Thank you.
Committee members, any additional questions? Assemblywoman Torres.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you for this bill, and thank you for coming into my office to talk to me about it earlier. As I dive deeper into the legislation, my only question is whether or not this would increase the amount of individuals that are maybe doing this work that do not reside or they're in Nevada. I just want to make sure that there's some type of guarantee, and maybe that's already in the policies, and you can kind of speak to that.
For the record, Chelsea Capurro. Anna, do you want to jump into this? I think the only thing I will say is that, as Anna mentioned, it does not get rid of the requirement that there has to be a licensed branch location in Nevada. But Anna, I don't know if you want to jump into that a little bit too, if you have more to add.
Sure, Anna Boone, Zillow Group, for the record. I will just say, to add on to what Chelsea mentioned, this does not change any of the licensing requirements. including that licensed branch location. So I don't see it having any significant impact on where LOs who are serving Nevada consumers can or cannot live.
Thank you for your answer. That actually was one of my questions. My other question is, I just wanted to confirm that everything is going to be electronic. There's not going to be any sort of physical paper at anyone's home at any given time.
Yeah, I can answer that again. Anna Boone, Zillow Group. Got to get used to that. That's correct. And we've spelled that out in this bill. I think that's critical that there are no physical records maintained at a remote location, including the home of the LO. So those will still be required to be maintained at a licensed branch location. So hopefully that answers.
Great, thank you, and it does. I don't see Assemblywoman Kasama. I was wrong.
Thank you.
Let me do that again. Assemblywoman Hardy.
Quite all right. Yeah. Yeah, thank you for this bill. I think another good thing that, came out of COVID, how we adapted and were able to do these things remotely. And again, being remotely doesn't just mean in someone's home. They could be, at somewhere else or in a hotel or something, whatever. But so I just wanted to just put on the record a couple of things. So this just says that they may conduct business at a remote location if they're authorized by the mortgage company. So it's permissive, and then the mortgage company has to have written policies, procedure for supervision, security plans, all of those things. So it's not just somebody going off and saying, I'm going to start doing this remotely. There's a process, there's procedures and all of these things through the mortgage company that are still in place.
For the record, Chelsea Capurro, yes, that's correct. And there are also authorizations for the mortgage lending division to put in any other further restrictions that they may see or need fit, whether that's working from a secure server or anything like that. So we don't want to tie their hands and not let them have the flexibility to regulate this as they see fit and what would be appropriate.
Any additional questions? I don't see any. We will move to testimony in support of Assembly Bill 284. Is there anyone here in Carson City wishing to testify in support of Assembly Bill 284? I don't see anyone. Is there anyone in Las Vegas wishing to testify in support of Assembly Bill 284? I don't see anyone. Broadcast, is there anyone on the line?
Callers, if you'd like to testify in support of Assembly Bill 284, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Caller with the last 3 digits, 699, you are not unmuted and may begin.
Good afternoon. Can everyone hear me okay?
We can.
Okay. For the record, my name is Michael Stidham. Last name is spelled Stidham. I am the Director of Regulatory Affairs here at Rocket Mortgage.
Sir, are you still there?
So I'm going to go ahead and start if that's okay.
Yes,
Yep.
please, go ahead.
Can you hear me?
I can. You can go ahead and
Okay.
start your testimony.
Thank you. Thank you. So good afternoon, Madam Chair and members of the committee. Rocket Mortgage appreciates the opportunity to offer testimony in support of the proposed amendments to the Nevada revised statutes, which would set forth the conditions by which licensed mortgage loan originators, MLOs, may work from a remote location. Under Nevada's current statute, mortgage licensees are required to establish a branch location anywhere MLOs conduct mortgage loan origination activity, even in an MLO's home. Again, in the wake of the COVID-19 pandemic, many states, including Nevada, proposed guidance and or codified remote work standards into their laws and or regulations. This modernization of mortgage lending requirements allows mortgage companies to continue to provide important financial services to consumers during the pandemic. By codifying standards for permissible remote work, MLOs can be available to assist consumers during future unforeseen events. Mortgage lender licensees are operating under this remote work model in many states, while also ensuring compliance with applicable federal, state, and local laws. The bill establishes specific standards for remote work that are in use in multiple other states, which also expressly support by the American Association of Residential Mortgage Lenders, otherwise known as ARMOR, to facilitate remote work. These standards will promote consistency among licensees and will reduce the need for the department to examine residential branches. Moreover, this amendment streamlines the regulatory process for the department and ensures that consumer protections are maintained no matter where MLO activity occurs. So in sum, we appreciate the committee's leadership on this matter. Remote work is critical for the modernization of mortgage licensing, and the standards set forth support Rocket Mortgage's constant desire to ensure consumer ease, protection, and proper mortgage activity oversight. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for your testimony. Broadcast, is there anyone else on the line?
Callers, if you've recently joined and like to testify in support of AB 284, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, there are no more callers in support at this time.
Thank you. We will move to testimony in opposition to Assembly Bill 284. Is there anyone here in Carson City wishing to testify in opposition? I don't see anyone. Is there anyone in Las Vegas wishing to testify in opposition to Assembly Bill 284? I don't see anyone. Broadcast, is there anyone on the line?
If you'd like to testify in opposition to Assembly Bill 284, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Again, if you'd like to testify in opposition to Assembly Bill 284, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, there are no callers wishing to testify in opposition at this time.
Thank you. We will now take testimony in a neutral position. Is anyone here in Carson City wishing to testify in a neutral position to Assembly Bill 284? I don't see anyone. Is there anyone in Las Vegas wishing to testify in a neutral position to Assembly Bill 284? I don't see anyone. Broadcast, is there anyone on the line?
If you'd like to testify in neutral for Assembly Bill 284, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Caller with the last 3 digits, 000, you are unmuted and may begin. Caller with the last 3 digits, 000, is your phone muted?
Can you hear me?
I can. Are you testifying in the neutral position to Assembly Bill 284?
Yes.
Please state and spell your name for the record, and you may begin.
Good afternoon. My name is Kathy Sheehy, Sheehy, Commissioner for the Mortgage Lending Division. I apologized. We appeared in person at Grant, but I think there was a misunderstanding on which room it was videoed into. So I'm on the phone testifying in neutral, just available to answer any questions.
I don't believe there's any questions, but I do appreciate you calling in, and I'm sorry for any confusion.
Thank you.
Broadcast, is there anyone else on the line?
Callers, If you've recently joined and like to testify in neutral of Assembly Bill 284, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue.
Hello, can everybody hear me?
I can. You may begin your testimony.
Okay, thank you. My name is Justin Houston. I work with DJJS Probation. Real quick, I'm a native son here of Las Vegas, Nevada. My grandparents met here in the 40s. My parents met at Western High School. My brother and I were born in Las Vegas, Nevada, Women's Hospital.
Sir?
Graduated from Bonanza, graduated from
Sir?
ULV, worked
Sir?
here for DJJS, and I'm very proud to be serving the community
Sir?
and serving the youth that we work with. It is extremely stressful to work
Sir,
with
can you hear me?
these youth that
Hello? BPS? BPS, is there anyone else on the line? For Assembly Bill 284 in the neutral position.
If you've recently joined and are calling to testify in neutral for Assembly Bill 284, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, there are no more callers to testify in neutral at this time.
Thank you. Assemblywoman Kusama, would you like to give any final remarks?
Yes, I just wanted to thank my co-presenters, and as we heard from many of you, and the other people calling in as well, that it's, our industries are changing after the pandemic, and how we're operating, and this is one industry, and I'm sure there'll be many more bills that are along the same line, and it's just good we're keeping up with our current times, and I appreciate everybody's consideration and support. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for your presentation. I will now close the hearing on Assembly Bill 284. I will now open the hearing on Assembly Bill 301, which revises provisions relating to public employees. Assemblyman Hibbets, you may begin when you're ready.
Good afternoon, Chair Marzola and members of the committee. I'm Brian Hibbets, representing Assembly District 13. I'm the sponsor of Assembly Bill 301, which revises the definition of police officer to include school police officers, juvenile probation officers, bailiffs, and deputy marshals of municipal courts for certain benefits under the Nevada Occupational Diseases Act. Currently, the director of the Department of Public Safety is authorized to allow the department to use certain designations to identify itself and the divisions of the department, and for its officers' employees to use certain designations to identify themselves, such as state police. The measure also clarifies that the use of certain designations by DPS, a division officer or an employee of the department, does not exclude them from the definition of police officer under existing law. Now, before I introduce my co-presenter, I'm going to give you a broad overview of what it is we're talking about before he gets into the specifics, because I'm not good at that part. So what we're talking about is called the heart and lung law in the state of Nevada. There are laws that cover this across the United States in just about every jurisdiction. It is widely known and widely understood that police and firefighters suffer disease of the heart and of the lung at a much greater rate than the average population does. Why that is, not a lot of people can tell you, and those that can tell you are probably just guessing. But nonetheless, it happens. So the jurisdictions across the country have deemed it necessary to say that if you were a police officer or a firefighter under certain circumstances and you develop one of these diseases, then it is automatically presumed to be work-related. Our state law that covers this is NRS 617.135. For the definition of police officer, under that, it is very limited. If you look at, I have a copy of the current version here. And you can see there's currently 16 different designations. I printed out, NRS 289 is what covers police officers in the general law, and I printed out the definition of what a police officer is under NRS 289, and that is 6 pages. So you can see this is a very limited scope. What we're trying to do here is, number one, the rambling on about the Department of Public Safety. In this particular statute, they're referred to as Nevada Highway Patrol. As you know, recently they changed their name, or a portion of their name, to the State Police. So this is just clarifying that that is still the same agency and they're still covered. The rest of these that we're putting in are groups or designations that already have their compatriots covered. So for instance, the city bailiffs, the Las Vegas Justice Court and the State District Court bailiffs are already covered. Las Vegas City Municipal bailiffs work in the same building and do the exact same job, yet they're not covered. That is simply an example of what it is we're trying to do. For the specific portions of it, I will now turn it over to Mr. McCann and let him dazzle you with his presentation skills.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the committee, and staff. My name is Rick McCann, for the record. I am here today representing the Nevada Association of Public Safety Officers and the Nevada Law Enforcement Coalition in order to assist in presenting AB 301. First, I wish to thank Assemblyman Hibbets, Assemblyman De Silva, Assemblyman Urick, Assemblyman Carter for their sponsorship and co-sponsorship of this very important bill. In general, here's a little bit of background, more so, in addition to what Assemblyman Hibbett said. In general, existing law, which happens to be NRS 617.455, it states that a disease of the lungs is conclusively presumed to have arisen in the course of the employment of a police officer, firefighter, or arson investigator who has been employed full-time in a continuous, uninterrupted position for 2 years or more. Add to that, current law, NRS 617.457, states that diseases of the heart are conclusively presumed to have arisen in the course of employment of a police officer, firefighter, arson investigator who has been employed full-time in a continuous, uninterrupted position for for 2 years or more. There are also built-in tiers for those of you who may not have this at the tip of your tongue, most people don't, regarding time limits, that if you have been in this particular position for up to 20 years, you get a certain amount of coverage following your separation from the department. And if you've been there for 20 years or more, you get additional coverage. That's neither here nor there for this bill. But as Assemblyman Hibbett said, these workers' compensation benefits are generally referred to as heart-lung benefits. So if you hear us talk about heart-lung, that's what it is by way of background. Currently, NRS 617.135, around which this AB 301 now revolves, it includes about 16 separate job descriptions to which these heart-lung benefits may apply. We're already dealing with that. Now, Section 1 of this bill, AB 301, seeks to add a school police officer employed by the Board of Trustees of a school district, a juvenile probation officer, and a municipal court bailiff or deputy marshal whose duties require them to carry a weapon and make arrests. That's what's in the bill in front of you. Very easy. Now, this makes perfect sense. As you will hear from some people who will be calling in or testifying in person here in Las Vegas, these are the subject matter experts. In these classifications, their jobs often require them to be exposed to the same environments, the same elements that their brothers and sisters in law enforcement are exposed to in their various lines of work. In fact, if you take a look at the new, in your bill in front of you, the new subsection M as in Mary, on page 3 of the bill, parole and probation officers of the Division of Parole and Probation of the State of Nevada, Department of Public Safety, currently are covered by heart-lung benefits. So why not juvenile probation officers that are being added to this bill, who deal with many of the same environments and conditions as adult probation officers? Walk into an adult's home to check on your subjects or do an investigation that somehow exposes you to more risks than walking into a house full of adults that contain your juvenile subject? Jeez, I'm losing my audience already. Good heavens. Wow, I'm not even to the end yet. So there is obviously a comparison that I think is pretty basic. Now look, I'm going to send you all over the bill here. Look at new subsection A on page 2 of the bill. It covers a sheriff, deputy sheriff, officer of a municipal police department, or a city police officer. So why not municipal court, which are city, bailiffs and deputy marshals, and school police officers who interact and engage with the same public, carry weapons, make arrests, just like these other police officer cohorts of theirs? Speaking of municipal court folks, by the way, we are submitting a conceptual amendment, which is on Nellis, should be in front of you, which adds marshals or deputy marshals of any city or any township. Frankly, we believe, on this side of the table, that municipal marshals and deputy marshals are city police officers, frankly, and they're just like the ones listed in subsection 1, subsection 1A. As a matter of fact, just for your knowledge, these people, these municipal people, they actually undergo annual heart and lung exams already, yet they're not in the list. So why are we adding them in this conceptual amendment? Well, upon information and belief, I am told some insurance companies for cities and towns try to argue that because the statute does not use the word, quote, marshal, and it only says, quote, city police officer, that they end up having their heart-lung coverages denied. We need to stop that. This amendment is merely an effort at cleaning up the issue for those city court marshals. Now look at new, I told you I was going to walk around the bill here with you. Look at new subsection J, as in Joseph, at the top of page 3 of the bill. It covers police officers from the Nevada system of higher education. Great. So why not school police officers who are under the control of the boards of trustees of school districts in our state? What the heck's the difference? New subsection D, here we go again, D as in dog, on page 2 of the bill, includes the chief, supervisor, investigator, or training officer of the training division of DPS, the training division. New subsection F as in Frank, 1 and 2 on page 2 of the bills, covers essentially background and criminal records investigators and technology support personnel. I'm not taking anything away from these important job functions and their potential exposures to cardiac and respiratory illnesses of the job. That's why they're in the bill, or why they're in the statute. But why not school police officers do the same things, juvenile probation officers exposed to the same things, and municipal court bailiffs or deputy marshals exposed to the same things? Don't get me wrong, this is not merely an argument of, well, why not me? I don't like that. Well, you got it, why not me? That's not what we're here for. I simply offer these different job descriptions as comparisons to show you why, or that there is a breadth, a large depth and breadth of those who are currently covered. These school police officers, juvenile probation officers, and municipal court bailiffs and deputy marshals are truly in need of this heart-lung benefit, just like their law enforcement brethren. There is absolutely no credible reason why they should not qualify as much as the other categories currently set forth in NRS 617.135. They can all suffer the same ill effects, including death, as their fellow law enforcement officers for doing essentially the same jobs. It's time they receive this benefit. That's that simple. And for these reasons, we ask that you support AB 301. Thank you.
Brian Hibbets for the record. Madam Chair, before we move on to questioning, I'd just like to add, as a retired police officer, I can tell you that I went through more experiences that I expected to affect my heart and lungs than I care to remember, from the adrenaline ups and downs to having to eat fast food on a nightly basis because that was the only thing available, to running into active meth labs to rescue children. I'm amazed that I'm still sitting here without an oxygen tank. But I had the comfort, after eventually learning of this benefit, I had the comfort of knowing that I had this benefit if something ever happened to me. I have been receiving requests for amendments up until while we were on the floor conducting session. I have submitted one amendment myself to include the city marshals, I believe is how we worded it exactly, because originally when the bill was drafted, they were supposed to be included with the city marshal bailiffs, but as it turned out, research showed they were two separate entities. So that's why I added that amendment. The rest of the amendments I have not submitted, just simply because of time. I don't want to bombard the committee with amendments 2 hours before the hearing. I am not necessarily opposed to those amendments. It's just something that's going to take a little further discussion, and we haven't had the time or opportunity to do that. So you may hear opposition testimony saying, well, we would support it if we had this. That's what is going to be discussed after this meeting. And of course, you're going to hear opposition testimony because it's going to cost money. It is. But nobody can actually tell you how much. But other than that, I would like to open it to questions for anybody that has any.
Thank you, Assemblyman, and thank you for your presentation. Committee members, does anyone have any questions? Assemblywoman Monroe Moreno.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a clarifying question. Which amendment, I have two, which one is yours, the one that you said you submitted? This one.
Where did it go? Sorry. I have about 7,000 pieces of paper in front of me myself. Yeah, go ahead.
Madam Chair, Rick McCann for the record. Assemblywoman, if you look at the one, the only thing at the very bottom,
Okay.
what am I looking at here? I'm sorry. It has a new subsection T as in Tom that says a marshal or deputy marshal of a city or township. The other one with the 2 paragraphs, no.
Thank you.
And again, if I may, Chair, again, that is not something that I'm absolutely against. It's just I haven't had the chance to research it and discuss it with the stakeholders.
Can you state your name for the record?
I'm sorry. Brian Hibbets for the record.
Thank you.
Is the follow-up?
Yeah, absolutely.
Then do you know who did submit this other one with the 2 paragraphs?
Brian Hibbets for the record. From looking from here, even with my glasses, I'm going to guess that is from the Nevada Sheriffs and Chiefs Association. I did see one come in from them.
Thank you.
Committee members, any additional questions? Vice Chair.
Chew your food.
Thank you for the presentation. I just have a quick question. When was the last time this chapter was amended? When was the last addition that we made to it, and who was it, and why were these originally excluded from this chapter?
Brian Hibbets for the record. I can answer part of that. I can tell you that the last time that this was amended was 2013 when Section 16 was added. I can't tell you, I don't have the legislative history to be able to explain to you why these were excluded or why that particular section was added. And for that, I apologize.
Follow up, Madam Chair? Yes. And by Section 16, do you mean the new R, letter R, Section 1 sub R? I guess let me restate my question in a better. When was the last time this amended to add to it? To add qualifying, I guess, officers, yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Minority Leader.
Brian Hibbets for the record. Yeah, 2013 is the last notice or the last notation I have on here adding anyone to the definition of police officer. And under the current law, it is listed as number 16, a bailiff or deputy marshal. I believe you're correct. Under the revision, it would be R, a bailiff or deputy marshal.
Follow up, Madam Chair? Thank you. And do you know why these were left off when this chapter was created?
Rick McCann for the record, through the chair. I'm not aware, Assemblywoman, as to why it may have been done. We're talking about a list of stuff. We're going back now a long time. This stuff has been around since like 1981, and it has gone through revisions throughout. The last revision, I believe, before 2013 was 2009. Why there would have been a revision without putting the marshals that we seek to put in now into that particular area, which may have made sense, I don't know. I wasn't involved with the bill in 2019, but it's a very good question.
Thank you, and I guess that's my question. I guess if there was a revision made for 16, right, to add the bailiffs of a justice court, I'm sure the conversation was had about why the municipal court wasn't included, and that's my curiosity. Like, was there a discussion about that, and were they left off for a certain reason? And I'm just, I'm sure we can go back, and if it was 2013, we can probably look at the legislative history or the minutes. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Assemblyman O'Neill. Okay. Okay, Assemblywoman Monroe Moreno.
He'll be my cleanup. We're down here debating. Just kind of a response to my colleague's question. As we both worked in law enforcement, right? And I spent almost 30 years there, although I look really good for my age. The different categories, different positions have evolved over the years. If you look at one of the amendments, it mentions alternative sentencing. We didn't have alternative sentencing programs 20 years ago. Law enforcement in general has changed, and sometimes our NRS haven't kept up with that. So I think that's why some of the positions that you see weren't there years ago, because we've evolved as a community and we've evolved as law enforcement. But he can be my cleanup.
Madam Chair, if I may address the Assemblywoman's point.
Go ahead.
It wasn't
State
until,
your name for the
I'm sorry,
record,
Brian
please.
Hibbets for the record. It wasn't until 1993 that an officer of a metropolitan police department was added. The Metro Police Department had existed for 20 years at that point, and the law had existed for 12. So that just it leads to the Assemblywoman's point that as words change, definitions change, and unfortunately lawyers like to use those words to their advantage, so we have to be ahead of them.
I felt like that was kind of a dig to lawyers, but I'm going to let that one pass. And I appreciate your answer. Yes, times are definitely changing and have changed.
Madam Chair, we may have those words stricken from the record.
Assemblyman O'Neill.
Thank you, Chair. And just in support and give a little history, I can, particularly talking about DPS, I was personally involved in this. It used to be, the law used to actually specify officers of the Metropolitan Police Department, law enforcement, sheriff's office, chiefs, local municipalities, and highway patrol troopers. It did not, and investigators. As DPS evolved, we formed a training division, we formed an internal affairs division, and I personally was assigned to develop a records and technology division. When I got transferred to that, when the officers were transferred out of highway patrol or investigations to work the training division, to go to internal affairs and work those cases, they were excluded because they were not mentioned. This bill was so narrowly written, precisely written, that for 2 years I was working without heart and lung coverage, even though I was a police officer. And I will tell you that I was actually assaulted and had guns put to my head with the triggers pulled. And I was not covered as a police officer then. And so we came in and I presented the bill in 2007 with PORAN, as I remember, PORAN. And I can't remember what PORAN stood for, and had to change that and write in here, and without quoting it, that officers in technology divisions, in training divisions, instead of just saying police officers, as categorized by post as Category 1 officers, as this does now say. I know I'm not supposed to make statements, so I'll make this as a question. Mr. Hibbets, Mr. Shant, do you believe that by adding some of this language where it talks about Category 1 police officers, that'll help clarify and clean up this constantly coming back almost every session or every other session with another additive. And thank you, Chair. That's a yes or no, because I ran out of time.
Brian Hibbets for the record. Yes, and if I may expand very briefly, the ultimate goal would be to eliminate everything you see here and just say as defined by NRS 289. In my opinion, that's the way it should be. However, I know that would give some people behind me various heart attacks when they are not covered by this bill, so I would not want to do that.
Thank you for that, Assemblywoman Monroe Moreno.
And just an additional question. My colleague to my left said Category 1. Would that also include Cat 2 and Cat 3?
Yes, it would. It currently does include both Cat 1, or all Cat 1, 2, and 3. It does include all Cat 1 and 2, but it does include Cat 1, Cat 2, Cat 3. There are examples of each category in the current listing and will continue to be there.
Thank you. I just wanted to get that on the record.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Lots of round two on this bill. I like it. I like everyone being involved. Committee members, any additional questions? I don't see any. We will move into testimony in support of Assembly Bill 301. Anyone here in Carson City? Please remember to state and spell your name for the record.
Good afternoon, Chair, members of the committee. My name is John Abel, spelled John-Abel. I'm the Governmental Affairs Director of the Las Vegas Police Protective Association, also representing the Las Vegas Deputy City Marshals. We obviously in support of this bill. The reason why the city marshals are in this bill now is we thought they were covered. In fact, they go through yearly heart and lung evaluations. So I was very surprised, and I began to receive phone calls last year that they weren't being covered. And so I've talked to the city of Las Vegas, and of course, because they're called marshals, we believe that they're at their city police. Because they're called marshals, they weren't covered. So this bill attempts to clean up that language. So we support the bill and thank Rick McCann and Assemblyman Hibbets for bringing it.
Thank you for your testimony. You may begin when you're ready.
Yes, hi, Kevin Eppinger. Greetings to all the committee meeting members. I work at the Clark County Department of Juvenile Justice Services as a juvenile probation officer. As we reviewed SB 301, we became aware that our colleagues from the Department of Parole and Probation were included in this bill. We essentially do the same job. Court report writing, making arrests, supervising youth in the community opposed to adults. We feel that this is a vital piece of law that we should be included on, and we just request that the committee take a hard look at this and include us. Thank you for your time and your support.
Hello, Matthew Caldwell, Detective with School Police and President of the Police Officers Association. Name is spelled M-A-T-T-H-E-W, Caldwell, C-A-L-D-W-E-L-L. I'd like to testify in support of this bill. I think the reason why school police is not included is because we poorly represented ourselves over the years, and nobody from my department came down here and asked for us to be added. And I think most people probably don't even understand what we do as a school-based police department. Just a brief synopsis: we have roughly 180 officers. We police the same geographic location or size as the Las Vegas Metro, about 8,000 square miles, which encompasses over 400 buildings, 300,000 students, 40,000 employees, and multiple visitors throughout the day. We are a specialty police department where we primarily focus on the safety and security of children, but we also commonly arrest adults for many violent offenses and even some juveniles for violent offenses too. So in closing, I'd like to just ask that you support this bill. We appreciate Assemblyman Hibbets championing the bill and Rick McCann actually doing a very good job of explaining it, and everybody else that supports as well, to include Assemblyman De Silva and Max Carter. Thank you all very much.
Good afternoon, Chair Marzola and members of the committee. For the record, my name is Pamela Del Porto, Pamela Del Porto, Executive Director for Nevada Sheriffs and Chiefs Association. I'm here today in support of AB 301. We appreciate what Assemblyman Hibbets is doing for Nevada peace officers, but we do look forward to ongoing and continued conversations relative to other peace officers. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony and support. Is there anyone else here in Carson City wishing to testify in support? I don't see anyone. Is there anyone in Las Vegas wishing to testify in support to Assembly Bill 301? I don't see anyone coming up. Here we go. Please state and spell your name for the record, and you may begin when you're ready.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My name is Hernan Arroyo, Hernan, last name Arroyo, Arroyo. I've been a juvenile probation officer with the Department of Juvenile Justice Services for the past 25 years, and I fully support this bill, knowing how many years that we've been looking at this and trying to be a part of it. I acquired tuberculosis back in 2008, doing my job duties, working in the detention center, and I just, again, want to thank you for your time and hope that you recognize us to be part of this bill. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Is there anyone else in Las Vegas wishing to testify in support? Please state and spell your name for the record, and you may begin when you're ready.
Good afternoon. My name is Kenyatta Elzy. Kenyatta, Kenyatta, Elzy, Ellzy. I'm a juvenile probation officer with the Department of Juvenile Justice Services. Just like Officer Arroyo, I too work in a juvenile detention center. I've noticed over the 2 decades that I've worked there, fellow employees who suffered heart attacks, fellow officers who go into different units and can't breathe because of the asbestos and the dirty vents. I'd just like to thank you for your support of Senate Bill 301.
Thank you for your testimony. Is there anyone else in Las Vegas wishing? Please state and spell your name for the record, and you may begin when you're ready.
Yes, hi, good afternoon. My name is Jacqueline Alvarado. That is Jaqueline, Alvarado, Alvarado. I, as well, along with my recent co-workers here, have been working in a juvenile detention facility. I've been a juvenile probation officer for 15 years. We are exposed to asbestos, lack of maintenance in the buildings. We are understaffed. There's mold. I recently got off of a heart monitor myself that I had to wear for 2 weeks, and my cardiologist has yet to read me my results. However, it is definitely a stressor of working in that environment. So please, thank you for your support for AB 301.
Thank you for your testimony. Please state and spell your name for the record. You may begin when you're ready.
Vanessa Mitchell, VANESSA MITCHELL. These are my colleagues. I'm also a juvenile probation officer for 16 years. I have worked in detention and currently work in the field. And personally, I have experienced a heart attack while I was working. My partner had to drop me off at UMC, abnormal EKG, and I had to have a heart cath. Never expected, and the only answer that is stress. And so I'm just asking for the support and that to include us in this bill, please, in support of AB 301. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Is there anyone else in Las Vegas wishing to testify in support to Assembly Bill 301? Please state and spell your name for the record, and you may begin when you're ready.
Hi, my name is Christine Johnson, CHRISTINE, JOHNSON. I've been a probation officer in this field for 25 years. Currently, I'm located at Spring Mountain Youth Camp in 8,500 elevation. We have at least 27 officers. Just to give you a rundown, a very quick glimpse of what we do, currently we have 3 officers that have not slept, and by the time they get home, they've been awake and in a hypervigilant state for 40 hours. We have another officer, 52 years old, that's going to be up at Spring Mountain Youth Camp for 3 days straight, 72 hours in a hypervigilant state. That's how we work. Our response to that is that's just what we do. We've had an officer die in the football field, heart conditions. We've had another officer, 5 heart attacks. We had a night JDA heart attack on the job, heart attack at home. It got to the point where I started carrying aspirin at work just in case. I pushed for radios because we're in such a remote location and we have this serious condition that can happen, again, because we're in a hypervigilant state for hours, sometimes days at a time. I myself have been 2 times checked with my heart, 1 hospitalized where they just simply stated stress. My blood pressure has gone up in the last year. Most of our blood pressure is high at Spring Mountain Youth Camp because we are in a high elevation. We produce higher red blood cells, and as a result of that, causes high blood pressure. Most of us now have to go get blood taken to take some of those red blood cells out. So on behalf of Spring Mountain Youth Camp and 27 officers, we're asking for your support, please. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. You may begin when you're ready.
Hi, good evening, or good afternoon. My name is Jessica Delgado. I work for the Department of Juvenile Justice Services as a juvenile probation officer. I've been a juvenile probation officer for the last 17 years with our department. The last 12 years I've been assigned to the Intensive Supervision Unit. I am in support of this bill, and I thank you for your time and consideration. There's just a few notes that I've kind of taken that I want you to take into consideration, please. This bill, AB 301, will provide vital protections to juvenile probation officers, the same protections that are currently afforded to our Department of Public Safety and other probation department and peace officers within the state of Nevada. Our officers work around many of the same conditions and environments that can expose us to respiratory and cardiac health conditions throughout the course of our career. Some of our working conditions include, and are unlike many other types of jobs within the state of Nevada, assaultive incidents. We work under highly aggressive situations. Our work is physically demanding and mentally demanding. We work in emotionally charged situations. We conduct arrests on an everyday occasion. And we are under stress-related situations that are typical to each of our positions, whether we work at Spring Mountain Youth Camp, the detention facilities, out in the field, intake officers, and such. One of the most important things I'd like for you to take under consideration, if you look at our actual job description when we apply to do our job on the county website, it says we are to work evening, night, weekend, and holiday shifts. We work under potentially life-threatening emergency conditions. We work in violent, traumatic, or highly charged and emotional environments. Specific positions may be assigned to a remote work site at very high elevation, and we may be subject to exposure to blood and airborne diseases. This is something that we are exposed throughout the course of our career. In the last several years, I myself have been diagnosed and suffer from cardiac, pulmonary, and now hypertension due to stress-related situations on my job. I'm only 43 years old, so I think this bill really is very important and serves our probation department and our probation officers, just like as other jobs within the state of Nevada are afforded the same protections. I thank you for your consideration and your time today. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your testimony. Is there anyone else in Las Vegas wishing to testify in support to Assembly Bill 301? I don't see anyone. Broadcast, is there anyone on the line?
Thank you, Chair. Callers, if you'd like to testify in support of AB 301, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Caller with the last 3 digits 904, please press star 6 to unmute yourself. Callers with the last three digits, 904, you are unmuted and may begin. Caller, is your phone muted?
Hello.
Sir, can you please state and spell your name for the record, and you may begin when you're ready.
Caller with the last three digits, 242, please press star 6 to unmute yourself. Caller with the last three digits, 242, you are unmuted on our end. Please proceed.
Greetings, Chair and committee. My name is Matthew Richardson, spelled MATTHEWRICHARDSON. I'm the Vice President of the Nevada Association of Public Safety Officers and President of the Juvenile Justice Supervisors Association. I'm also a Juvenile Probation Supervisor at the Department of Juvenile Justice Services. Juvenile probation officers and supervisors are deemed essential employees for the security of detained youth pending serious charges, which include sex offenders and youth up for adult certification, and those who have been court-ordered placement and including supervision of high-risk youth in the community. Their main job function is for the safety of the community. I'm not going to repeat everything that's been said before, so I just wanted to urge the committee to support SB 301, and I'm here in support of SB 301. Thank you.
Callers, if you've recently joined and like to testify in support of AB 301, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Callers with the last three digits, 024, you are unmuted and may begin. Chair, there are no more callers in support at this time.
Thank you. We will move on to testimony in opposition to Assembly Bill 301. Is there anyone here in Carson City wishing to testify in opposition? Remember to state and spell your name for the record, and you may begin when you're ready.
Good afternoon, Chair Marzola. Joanna Jacob, Jacob, last name. I am the Government Affairs Manager for Clark County. We are here in opposition today just in light of the ever-evolving and development of this bill and the discussion of multiple amendments on the record today. I just wanted to state for the record that Clark County covers work-related incidents either on our workers' compensation system side or on the medical side through our health benefit plan, especially if there is a nexus to the work. There are valid reasons why we have these presumptions on heart-lung, and we know that it's because of exposure to smoke and burning substances, chemicals, but if it's a work-related incident, then there is coverage, especially when it is timely notified to the county. We have some concerns about expansion on this, and we've looked at the policies of such expansion in other states. There have been some limits put in place, as Mr. McCann noted, and we have looked at those limits. I have communicated with Assemblyman Hibbets about these items, and we certainly are intent to work with him as this bill makes it through. There was some discussion about costs on this, and I know this is the policy committee. We did file a fiscal note on this bill, and that will be discussed later. So thank you very much for the time.
Good afternoon, Chairwoman Marzola and members of the committee. For the record, Lindsay Knox, KNOX, with McDonald Carano, on behalf of the Nevada Self-Insurers Association. We join the county in expressing concerns with AB 301. Our primary issue is the broadening definition of police officer, which lacks clear distinction between the unique risks faced by our police personnel. This could lead to unintended consequences and costs. We look forward to working with this bill sponsor and other stakeholders to achieve a fair resolution that addresses our concerns. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else here in Carson City wishing to testify in opposition? Mrs. Jacobs, can you come back to the desk, please? I have some committee members that have some questions. Assemblywoman Monroe Moreno.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I know that we're not the fiscal committee, but I am looking at your fiscal note, and it's pretty amazing. But that being said, we'll discuss that when I take the bill to my committee. But question, you said that you cover workers' comp for the employees. We heard a number of people in public in support of this bill talk about medical conditions that they're going through. What are you doing to address those medical conditions of those officers who are working in your facility?
Thank you for the question. Joanna Jacob, Government Affairs Manager on behalf of Clark County. And through you, Chair Marzola, to Assemblywoman Monroe Moreno.
You can go direct.
Thank you. When in discussion with on this, we have a policy in Clark County that if there is a nexus to the conditions and the exposure on the thing, that there is a process for notifying our risk management division of a work-related incident. If that form, known as a C1, is filed with Clark County, and then it is reviewed for whether there is a work-related nexus. If there's a work-related nexus, it is covered, and that is our policy. As with regard to the conditions at the facility, I will have to get back to you on that because I heard that testimony today, and I certainly will respond to you and those concerns and send it to the committee after this meeting.
Follow-up? Those officers that are your juvenile officers, do they have to do an annual physical like the metropolitan officers, like the officers working in the city jail? Do they have to do an annual physical as part of their employment?
Joanna Jacob, for the record. Assemblywoman, I'd have to look at this. I know that was discussed in our fiscal note that with this change, yes, there would be subject to an annual physical. I believe that was discussed in our fiscal note. I do not know that for certain. Perhaps I don't want to give you the wrong answer here at this point, but with the extension of that coverage, I will tell you that condition upon that coverage that is required typically because of the presumption that does apply on this. So yes, we do think that I'm not sure if they are subject to it today. I certainly will follow up on that, but then with the extension, yes, that would be required, I believe, as well.
And then last question, Madam Chair. Are those officers a Cat 2 or Cat 3? Do you know what their category is with Nevada Post? Because they did have to pass Nevada Post to get that job, correct?
Thank you for the question. Joanna Jacob, Government Affairs Manager. I believe, and I know this from working on these issues in previous sessions, there was a lot of discussion today about categories of peace officers. Our juvenile parole typically, I believe, are Cat 2. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Assemblywoman Backus.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair, and thank you for taking some questions, Ms. Jacobs. I just hearing a lot about this Spring Mountain Youth Camp just made me nervous, not only for the employees up there having the elevated red blood cells, but I was also thinking about the kids there. Are you guys seeing any complaints coming out of there on health problems of the children that are up there as well?
Joanna Jacob, for the record, Clark County, Assemblywoman Backus. As I sit here today, I do not have that information before me. I know there have been, I can certainly go back to our Juvenile Justice Division and find out for you and follow up after this meeting. I apologize. I did not have that information for you today. Joanna Jacob, for the record, but I certainly will follow up with you, Assemblyman Bacchus, after this meeting, and certainly share that information.
And any information that you do get, can you please share it with my committee secretary?
Joanna Jacob, for the record, absolutely share. I will. Thank you.
Thank you. Any additional questions? I don't see any. Thank you so much for coming back up. Is there anyone in Las Vegas wishing to testify in opposition to Assembly Bill 301? I don't see anyone. Broadcast, is there anyone on the line wishing to testify in opposition?
If you'd like to testify in opposition to Assembly Bill 301, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Callers, if you'd like to testify in opposition to Assembly Bill 301, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, we have no callers at this time.
Thank you. We will move to neutral testimony. Is there anyone here in Carson City wishing to provide testimony in a neutral position to Assembly Bill 301? You may begin when you're ready. Please state and spell your name for the record.
Good afternoon. I'm Mike Dzyak, D-Z-Y-A-K. I am your state fire marshal, and I am representing the Department of Public Safety. Madam Chair, members of the committee, thank you for having me. We're testifying neutral, and I apologize because it was us who saw this late and came in late with this. And while we have some requests, we have not had the chance to sit down with Assemblyman Hibbets, and I apologize to him back there too. Basically, the state fire marshal, what we saw in section 1, state fire marshal and his deputies and his or her assistant and deputies was already in there. As far as my division goes, we haven't had deputies since 2004, so I thought this would be an appropriate moment, since we had to address it anyway in section 2, to just clean it up and say the state fire marshal, supervisor or investigator of the state fire marshal division, to clarify that. And then the director's office realized that Capitol Police and dignitary protection for the governor was not also delineated in section 1, so we asked that that would be added. When we got to section 2, we realized that they notice as O in section 1 as state fire marshals, and O was not present in section 2. It was omitted, so we asked that that be put in, and then add for the chief of Capitol Police Division, supervisor, dignitary protection officer, or police officer of the Capitol Police Division of the Department of Public Safety as a section P, but we'll work with Assemblyman Hibbets to clarify that. All those officers are currently covered. There's no, they were covered under the old Department of Public Safety. And that is all. I'll take any questions if you have them.
Thank you for your testimony. No questions. And I just want to remind everyone that anyone submitting amendments, please put your contact information. It's appreciated. Is there anyone in Las Vegas wishing to provide testimony in a neutral position to Assembly Bill 301? I don't see anyone. Broadcast, is there anyone on the line?
If you'd like to testify in neutral for Assembly Bill 301, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, there are no callers wishing to testify in neutral at this time.
Thank you. Assemblyman Hibbets, would you like to give some closing remarks?
Brian Hibbets for the record. First, I'd like to make an amendment and suggest that we put drink holders in those chairs, because it's just, it'd be a whole lot easier. But seriously, the reason that we have this law, and this law exists in most jurisdictions in the United States, is because of the difficulty for any doctor to be able to link heart or lung disease to the job definitively. If I'm a police officer and I'm wrestling with a suspect and I twist my knee, and I go to the hospital and the doctor says, yep, you got a twisted knee, and yep, I have a witness that I was wrestling with this suspect, guess what? I can link that to my job duties. but high cholesterol, hypertension, reduced lung capacity. Find me a doctor that can say it happened because of your job. They can't do that. That's why we have this law, is to protect the cops that get heart and lung disease and the firefighters. I don't want to exclude them. We have a rivalry, but we love each other. But they're already covered. So all I ask is that you take a look at it and let's do our best to try to cover these cops that are out there protecting us and our families. Thank you very much.
Thank you, and thank you for bringing this bill forward. I will close the hearing on Assembly Bill 301. I will now open the hearing on Assembly Bill 334. This bill revises provisions relating to insurance for motor vehicles. Assemblywoman Brown May, you may begin when you're ready.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. For the record, my name is Tracy Brown May. I'm the Assemblywoman currently representing Assembly District 42. We're going to do our very best to cover this bill very quickly on your Friday afternoon. We sincerely appreciate the opportunity to come before you to present this conceptual amendment. Know that we're not working off the bill, we're working off the conceptual amendment. You all should have a lovely in-color version. It is a work in progress, so thanks for taking the time to hear this. This bill measure helps to protect automobile insurance consumers by setting stringent guidelines for an insurer to follow regarding the timeliness for a vehicle repair request. I'd like to introduce you to my co-presenter, Sean Azam, joining us from AW Collision in Las Vegas, and we have representatives here from the State Division of Business and Industry, the Insurance Division, to answer specific questions from the committee regarding this matter. I'm going to go really quickly because the best bills are the bills that come from our constituents in our districts. That's where this bill came from. Mr. Azam identified that there was an issue relative to his business and his customers. He brought it forward, we talked about it, and worked through the entire interim in order to come up with this really great language. So rather than waste your time, I'm going to turn it over to him and let him go.
For the record, my name is Sean Azam. Good afternoon, Chairwoman Marzola, Vice Chair, and the members of the committee. I'd first like to thank you all for taking the time to sit with us today in review of a bill that will go a long way in helping the members of our community, our friends, our family, and even people sitting next to you and here on this floor. Tracy Brown May, I would like to thank you for assisting in presenting this bill today. I'm a small business owner in the heart of Las Vegas. My family and I run 2 automotive collision repair facilities here and have been operating in Nevada since 2011. And all the time we have been here, last year has been by far the hardest for our family, our businesses, our customers, and for the industry. The reason I'm presenting this bill today is on behalf of almost 50 of our customers in the last year who have felt lied to, deceived, and ignored from their own insurance companies, ones that are supposed to represent and protect them with the best interest in mind. Over the past 6 months, our customers and our business have submitted almost 50 complaints to the Department of Insurance against insurers for unfair claims handling and delays on claims. I have those complaints and responses here in front of me. Some of these customers have been out of their own vehicle and out of a rental car or a car in general, waiting for up to 2 months or more for insurance companies to get back to them, to have just an employee come out and look at the vehicle. Card gets dropped off, just to have someone come out and start the initial process. Unfortunately, this has become more common practice. This hurts everyone in the industry. Our businesses are left in limbo, not able to move forward with repairs. Consumers are left paying for rentals and trying to figure out how to get back to their normal lives. And insurance adjusters are left overworked and stressed. This bill helps to bring to Nevada the consumer protections that other states have already mandated. It holds insurance companies to a maximum of 6 days to inspect a vehicle after liability and coverage has already been determined, and 6 days to inspect for any additional damages found once the car is in a repair facility and it's been taken apart. It also provides a solution to allow the customer to proceed with proper repairs if the insurance company delays longer than 6 days, much as other states have already set before us. I would like to share the story of one customer, a very personal situation that happened last year and into the beginning of this year. Imagine you sitting there, you're Miss Byers. You're a single mother of 2. You work hard every day to support your family and put food on the table. You're driving home from picking your child up at school when suddenly a piece of debris comes into your lane, you strike it, and you instantly pray for your family's safety. You pull to the side of the road only to find out your undercarriage is damaged, your car is leaking coolant, and it requires to be towed. You contact your insurance company and are advised to take your vehicle into the shop on October 12th, 2022 is when it happened. You give a sigh of relief knowing you have been paying the same insurance company for 10 years, have full coverage, and have full rental coverage on your policy. You get into a rental car, you drive home to do the best that you can to keep your family in good spirits. Over the course of the next few weeks, you continue to get updates from the shop stating they have disassembled your vehicle and have sent all the photos and the estimate to your insurance company for review. However, that they have not heard back anything other than understaffing and training excuses. The days continue to go on. November 12th, 2022 comes, and you get a call from your rental company that your insurance is no longer covering the rental, as almost all policies max at 30 days of rental coverage. You immediately think of your kids. How will they get to school? How will I go to work? How will I put food on the table? Rentals are not less than $45 a day. That's $1,350 a month. That's as much as her rent on her property, let alone the rest of the expenses that she has. You anxiously start calling the repair shop. You call the insurance company and anyone else you can think of. The shops advise you that they are still waiting and have made numerous attempts to get an adjuster out. The repair totals are $13,000, and you don't have the money just to pay the car and fix it in the meantime. So you wait, borrowing cars, asking for rides, rationing food, and you wait. December 13th, 2022, 2 months and a day after the original incident. You receive a call from the shop that an adjuster has just arrived to review your $13,000 claim for the first time. This is your own insurance company that has already accepted liability months prior and provide an approval to move forward. The next day, the shop mentions they received paperwork for an approval of only $7,000, almost half of what is needed to repair your vehicle and not even close to what was gone over in person the day prior. You continue to deal with delays after delays. Fast forward February 6, 2023, 3 months after the initial accident. There are emails, calls, complaints. You finally hear from the shop that after multiple attempts, they've received final approval, adding another $3,000 to the claim. The shop moves forward with ordering parts and performing the repairs. On February 16th, 10 days later, you're contacted to pick up your vehicle. You think back, after all this, sleepless nights, worry, heartache, stress. After all this, 3 months later, it only took 10 days to fix your car. Unfortunately, this is one of the almost 50 complaints provided to the Department of Insurance. And after this, the insurance companies, the regional manager of Miss Byers, her response to the department and back to us was, we're very sorry for any delays in addressing several submitted requests. We're going to go ahead and waive your $250 deductible. This bill helps bring accountability where it is due. It is time to say no to improper claims handling, say no to families paying for others' delays. This bill is a large step in the right direction and will only help to hold the bad actors delaying claims accountable while we protect the consumers, the friends, the families, and the people that you all know. Thank you very much.
In researching this issue, Assemblywoman Tracy Brown May, for the record, my apologies. In researching this issue, I approached the Department of Insurance with Business and Industry and was notified that there were 449 complaints filed with the division in 2002 for delay of insurance response following this type of incident specifically, and 308 complaints in 2021. So there are a significant number of complaints relative to timeliness of insurance response. That is why we bring this bill before you today. Madam Chair, with your permission, I'll walk through the amendment.
Please.
Thank you. Section 1.1 of this amendment proposes to amend the Nevada revised statutes to include a new section that requires an automobile insurer to inspect a vehicle for repair within 6 business days after receiving a claim, and it requires the insurer to furnish a copy of its estimate for repair. Section 1.2 identifies if an insurer determines a need for additional inspection for insurance claim following the disassembly and the initial inspection process, that they must initiate the process within 6 business days from the date when they're notified. Again, this insurer is required to furnish a copy of its repair for estimate. Section 1.3 requires the vehicle must be available for inspection by the owner or the repair facility, which ensures the insurer is not subject to provisions of the section if the vehicle is not available for inspection, right? Section 1.4 details that if an insurer fails to inspect a vehicle during the specified period, they waive their right to inspect the vehicle before repairs have been made. If the right has been waived, then unless the repair facility or the insured allows an inspection or further inspection after that initial period, the negotiations for payment of the claim are limited to the cost of labor and the price of parts for the repair of the vehicle. Section 1.5 identifies that a claimant's ability to file a complaint with the division, which would be Business and Industry, the Department of Insurance. Section 1.6 sets the administrative fine for violation of this provision of $1,500 per violation. And we are happy to stand for questions.
Thank you, and thank you for your presentation. Assemblywoman Backus.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair. Thank you for your presentation. I just had some questions, and I'm grateful that the presenter made it clear that the time period would start after accepting liability. However, one problem that I frequently see, which is really sad, is in Nevada, we only mandate liability for coverage for property damage. We do not mandate a driver to have collision coverage. And so what I usually see in situations like this is a person unfortunately gets into an accident, like you were describing the lady driving down the freeway and hit something in the road. That would mandate her to have collision insurance. If she doesn't have collision insurance, then there's no obligation by the insurance carrier to make those repairs. And so with this is more of, it could be a question or a statement, but it seems like Section 1 is completely lacking that aspect and not taking that into consideration. So there would be a void that this is either only dealing with property damage and not those situations where you have collision like the example you gave today. So I don't know what the intent was there. And then the other thing is I'm kind of struggling with the removal of, in the amendments, Section 6 and why that was removed and just put like kind of de facto damages. If those can kind of be addressed, that'd be helpful. Thanks.
Thank you. Tracy Brown May for the record, through you, Chair, to Assemblywoman Backus. Thank you for the questions. I appreciate that. We're happy to delineate in a further amendment collision, comp and collision coverage. It was simply for the repair. So LCB is helping us to write a new section of law, so I'm happy to walk that through to make sure that we get the right language relative to collision coverage for damages for vehicle repair. If the insured is carrying collision, right? So realistically, we're having times where we have adequate insurance by the customer that is just not being responded to timely by the insurance carrier. So that's the piece that we're really working to address. And then following up on Section 6, initially when this was suggested by the Legislative Counsel Bureau and they put in this individual section that you could bring, it would require the Division of Insurance to establish an attorney, to file the claim, to go through a process. There was over $1 million fiscal note on this piece of it. And I'll let the Division of Business and Industry, the Department of Insurance is here, and they can speak to that specifically relative to their internal process and how they can respond to this specific section.
Thank you. Assemblyman Carter.
Well, I'm coming back to 6, and I'm just wondering why and who is the person who violates this when it says insurer everywhere else, and it would be the insurer who's violating that section.
Thank you, Assemblywoman Brown May, for the record. That is a great point and a good catch. I was just actually informed prior to this meeting that we should put insurer there as opposed to a person. So that was a misquote. Thank you for drawing that out.
Any additional questions? I don't see any questions. Before we move to testimony, thank you for bringing this bill forward. I am actually one of those people. My son's vehicle has been in the shop since December. And I've had to pay for his rental car since then, once the 30 days of his rental coverage lapse. It's still in the shop. And so I can't imagine someone that is not well-versed in this area, what they go through and their frustrations. And so I appreciate you bringing this bill forward. We will now open up for testimony in support of Assembly Bill 334. Is there anyone here in Carson City who wishes to testify in support to Assembly Bill 334? I don't see anyone. Is there anyone in Las Vegas wishing to testify in support to Assembly Bill 334? Broadcast, is there anyone on the line wishing to testify in support?
If you'd like to testify in support of Assembly Bill 334, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Caller with the last 3 digits 232, you are not unmuted and may begin.
Hello, everybody. Happy Friday. My name is Jenny Drago. That is D as in David, R-A-G-O. I am calling in support of this bill today as an insurance claims specialist and adjuster in the industry within the last 40 years. And I'm also just calling in as a consumer. As we had mentioned earlier, insurance is obviously compulsory in the state of Nevada, while that does only extend to liability coverage itself. There are many of us that are purchasing vehicles that want to make sure that we've got comprehensive and collision coverage in case of damages. And at the end of the day, this really comes down to consumer protection for all of Nevadans. At the end of the day, this is an insurance contract, right, between the insurance company and the consumer. And for those of us that have rental car coverage, the insurance company is just not willing to budge on the amount of days of coverage that you get. Oftentimes, as mentioned earlier, it's anywhere from 24 to 30 days max of coverage. And listen, 3 years ago, what it cost for rental car coverage, that's not the same as what it is today. Yet we do not see in the insurance contract that the cost for rental car coverage is increasing. So the insurance company having more limitations set, or more parameters, I should say, not limitations, parameters set to meet the consumer satisfaction for getting their vehicles back so they can get back to their daily lives is imperative. I feel that the insurance company should hold some sort of responsibility in that respect. The contract does state that the intention is to make the insured whole. And we do understand that there are also limitations with getting repairs done on a vehicle because of parts coming in. And I mean, that's a whole other separate issue, the delay on parts coming in. But because of all these roadblocks that a body shop encounters, it is imperative that the insurance company does have to make sure that they come out and inspect the vehicle in a timely fashion so that the consumer is not sitting for 20, 30, 60 days to be able to get their vehicle back. So I am in support of the bill and happy to answer any other questions that I possibly can. And I thank you all for your time.
Thank you for your testimony. Broadcast, is there anyone else on the line?
Caller with the last 3 digits 633, please press star 6 to unmute yourself.
Got her, right? Saw her grab her phone.
Oh.
Hello, I'm Michael Michelle. I'm an estimator at AW Collision. We are a dealership-certified repair facility and repair people's vehicles that have been in accident. Do you believe Assembly Bill 334?
Sir, we're having a hard time hearing you. Sir, can you get closer to your phone? Or state your name and spell it for the record?
Sure. Are you able to hear me now?
A little better. Do you have your volume all the way up?
Yes, I do. I'll try to talk loudly then.
No.
I apologize if there's a sound issue. Hello, Michael DiMichele. I'm an estimator at AW Collision. We are a dealership certified repair facility and repair people's vehicles that have been in accidents. We believe Assembly Bill 334 can help improve the time frame to deliver vehicles back to clients so that they can have a reliable mode of transportation for their work and for their families. If it takes 3 weeks for an insurance company just to approve initial repairs, it can create a hardship on clients for out-of-pocket rental expense. I am in support of Assembly Bill 334. Thank you.
Can you please state and spell your name for the record?
Yes, my name is Michael DiMichele. That's MichaelDemichele.
Great. Thank you so much for your testimony. Broadcast, is there anyone else on the line?
Caller with the last three digits, 220, please press star 6 to unmute yourself.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, my name is Kevin Kampshire. For the record, it's KEVINKAMPSCHROR, and I'm here testifying on behalf of the Nevada Justice Association. We are in support of AB 334. This bill does provide Nevadans who have been in a car accident a much quicker path to getting their lives on track. Delays in getting your vehicle repaired can have an enormous ripple effect on consumers, and this bill certainly would help provide the relief that people need. Thank you.
Callers, if you've recently joined and would like to testify in support of Assembly Bill 334, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, there are no more callers wishing to testify in support at this time.
Thank you. We will move on to testimony in opposition to Assembly Bill 334. Is there anyone here in Carson City wishing to provide testimony in opposition? Please state and spell your name for the record, and you may begin when you're ready.
Good afternoon, Chair Marzola, members of the Commerce and Labor Committee. I'm Jesse Wadhams with the law firm of Black & Wadhams here today representing the Nevada Insurance Council, which is the Nevada-based trade association for many of the property casualty insurers. And I do want to start by thanking Assemblywoman Brown May for her early outreach and having a very communicative and open door. It has also been, I think, very helpful to hear some of the testimony to understand the issues that are attempting to be addressed in this bill, because I think, as has been noticed, some of the language is a little wonky. There's issues of when liability may be accepted. There's comp and collision. So, I'm afraid I can't speak to the amendment. I did not know that there was an amendment, but all of that said, we do think that there are some issues with the language. We do think that the remedies that are proposed are somewhat, I think, duplicative. We already have a statute on point, Nevada's Unfair Practice Act, the Unfair Practices in Settling Claims. If you want to take a look, that's at NRS 686A 310. So insurers are already held to account and can and should be held to account under the current law. So, again, I will reiterate our commitment to work with Assemblywoman Brown May, and we are putting together more information now, and I think there's going to be a way we can work together collaboratively to find a solution.
You may begin.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the committee. Happy Friday. Love to be in opposition on the last bill on a Friday afternoon. It is a thrilling position to be in. My name is Leah Case, Leacase, here today representing the American Property Casualty Insurance Association. There is a letter by the door that outlines some of the full concerns, but I do want to echo what my colleague, Mr. Wadhams, has said from the Nevada Insurance Council, and I do want to thank Assemblywoman Brown May and Mr. Azam for this. The outreach has been incredible, and we've been working together to find some resolutions to the concerns of APCIA. So specifically in Section 1, subsection 1, the 6-day business time frame, if there is going to be a time frame in the bill, that should start upon receipt of the documents. Many of these insurance adjusters, they work remotely. They do this via app and email, pictures. You know, we heard earlier about remote mortgage. So this remote work is the new landscape. Also in Section 1, subsection 1A and 2A, make some changes that the insured claimant or representative of the repair shop must make the vehicle available for inspection, is another suggested amendment. And then the fine of up to $1,500 for a single instance against the insurer. In other states that have this time limit, we have seen some bad actors on the other side, so body shops and insurance companies. So if the fine applies to insurance companies, we'd like to see it apply on the other side as well. We as well will review this amendment with the members of APCIA and look forward to working with the Assemblywoman and Mr. Azam to come to some collaboration and move to hopefully neutral. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to testify in opposition? I don't see anyone. Is there anyone in Las Vegas wishing to testify in opposition to Assembly Bill 334? I don't see anyone walking up. Broadcast, is there anyone on the line?
Callers, if you'd like to testify in opposition to Assembly Bill 334, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, there are no callers wishing to testify in opposition at this time.
Thank you. We will move on to neutral testimony. I see you walking up. You may begin when you're ready. We are in the neutral testimony phase of Assembly Bill 334.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My name is Alexia, and members of the committee. Alexia Emmerman. I'm Chief Insurance Counsel for the Nevada Division of Insurance. The division comes in a neutral position. We have no position on the substantive changes being presented in the bill, but note that for subsection 6, this was where we submitted a fiscal note, and it was fairly sizable. So I think that was the concern that Assemblywoman Brown had. So we did some research to see what the issue is, and the bill mandates a hearing in every case for every complaint that has a basis in law or fact. And that is different from our current process for when consumer complaints come in. We have to go through the entire investigation process. If there's a basis there, then it goes to the investigation team. Then it comes up to legal for administrative action. For this particular bill, it would require a hearing in every situation. And when we went back to look at the complaints we received over the last 5 or 6 years, it was about 500 cases, 500 complaints a year. And so when we broke it down, that would be about 47 hearings every month. Our current staff levels can't pick that up. There's just no way that they can pick it up with what they've got already. And so our fiscal note went in order to add the minimum staff necessary to provide the service and support the bill. So with the proposed amendment, by taking it out and putting in the fine amount, this would essentially put all consumer complaints into the same process that we currently have. So it specifies a fine amount, which would be different because I think most of our fines hover between the $500 and $1,000 range. Excuse me. So that would have to be specified if the fine amount is going to be different. But the complaints would still go through the original process with our consumer services team. Then if there's no resolution there, they'd go to our investigators. And if there's a violation found there, it gets referred over to our legal team. And that's where we go forward with administrative action. And if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer. I think I hit everything that I needed to put on the record. You know what? I do want to say this. So the difference would be that a hearing isn't going to be required. However, if we impose a fine, an insurer under our insurance code currently has the ability to request a hearing if they want to dispute the fine. Thank you.
Great. Thank you for your testimony. Is there anyone else wishing to testify in a neutral position? I don't see anyone. Is there anyone in Las Vegas wishing to testify in a neutral position to Assembly Bill 334? Broadcast, is there anyone on the line?
Callers, if you'd like to testify in neutral for Assembly Bill 334, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, we have no callers wishing to testify in neutral at this time.
Thank you. Assemblywoman, would you like to give some final remarks?
I'm sorry, this is Alexia Emmerman, Chief Counsel, Division of Insurance. There was one thing I forgot to say that I think was key here, that with the proposed amendment, we would remove the fiscal note, just so that you know. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Assemblywoman Brown-May, for the record, that was a great closing comment. Thank you. I want to thank you for the time to hear this bill today. I also want to identify that I want to thank opposition for identifying the fact that I've reached out often and regularly, and unfortunately was presenting an amendment to you based on our side only. And so we will look forward to presenting a revised document with the language recommended from LCB within our legislative time frame, so that we can hopefully move this measure forward. I thank you for your time today.
Thank you. I will close the hearing on Assembly Bill 334. I will now open up for public comment. Please address your remarks to issues that fall within the jurisdiction of this committee. Public comments is limited to 2 minutes. Please remember to state and spell your name for the record and indicate any affiliation. Is there any public comment here in Carson City? I don't see anyone. Is there anyone in Las Vegas wishing to provide public comment? Broadcast, is there anyone on the line?
Thank you, Chair. If you'd like to provide public comment, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue.
Hello, everyone. My name is Cyrus, C-Y-R-U-S. Don't mean to jump in like this on a Friday. I read an article today about how the state of Hawaii is considering repealing the gas tax and charging people by the mile. That is a decision that I think makes more sense, considering the fact that more and more people are moving towards electric cars. And not to mention, I believe that a lot of times gasoline providers can gouge prices, and without a lot of us knowing it, and they can just scapegoat gas taxes and other policies. So what I would suggest is perhaps you can report your yearly mileage, and it would just essentially, your registration fees would just increase based on how much you drive. On the other hand, considering the fact that we're a heavily tourist-rich state, we would want to make sure that the tourists pay a lot of the taxes. A lot of them come from out of state. So what we can do is we can keep the gas tax, which are basically gas stations within a mile of a major interstate. So I know this is kind of confusing, but we really have to update this system. Because, and again, we're paying about 45-something cents for a gallon of gasoline tax. So we need to start looking into that. But other than that, thank you so much, and please consider other ways of getting revenue.
Thank you for your public comment. Broadcast, is there anyone else on the line?
Chair, there are no more callers to provide public comment at this time.
Thank you. Committee members, any comments or questions before I adjourn? That concludes our meeting for today. Our next meeting will be Monday, March 27th at 1:30 p.m. This meeting's adjourned.